Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and happy Wednesday. Welcome back to part two of our brush lettering class. Hello, everyone. Hi, Buffy. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Lisa. Hello, everybody. Hi, Sue. Hi, Boss Queen EJ. Hello there. Hi, Tina. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Leslie. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. Hi, Emma. I'm so excited for part two as well. Hi, hello, hello, hello. Hi, Liz. Hi, Carrie. We have so many friends joining in this afternoon, and it's so exciting when we have, there's a lot of us here because we can really engage, talk stories and really answer questions and inspire one another. So, like what I said, this is a part two of our brush lettering class. If you've missed last week, it is already available on Michael's YouTube channel. So you can definitely check that out because there was a lot of information. And speaking of all that information, I'd like to kind of I really want to talk a little bit about the basic strokes that we've done last week, but I don't want to do that so much because we have such limited time and we really want to continue writing our alphabet today. And we're going to learn about connecting those alphabet and then learning about maybe practice some words and all that. Hey, Luke, how are you? Okay, so I have here the black edition of Faber-Castell, but I want to quickly just show this because I got a lot of question on my social media about the Pitt Artist Pen. If you don't know this yet, this is my favorite marker. Pitt Artist Pen, especially the black one, comes in many different type of tips. Now, I've been using the brush tip for a very, very long time. And this is my favorite, but my favorite also when it comes to doodling and drawing and even lettering is the Fudenoske medium. So it's just a different tip. One is like FM and the other one is FH. So it looks just like a regular pen, but it actually is a very flexible nib. So it looks just like a regular pen, but this one is flexible where you can also create like thin and thick lines. Let me just zoom in real quick so we can see. Now, last week we've learned about the basic strokes, which is thin going up, which is your upstroke, and then heavy pressure going down. And then we've also learned about all the basic strokes that compose our alphabets. So this is the Fudenoske. So you can see, even though it looks just like a regular pen, it actually is flexible and you can use it to create some beautiful thin and thick lines as well, just in case that you're interested. Now, the Pitt Artist Pen in black, I know I've mentioned last week that it is a little pricey, but honestly, it's like getting two markers in one because not a lot of people know this, but the nib of the Pitt Artist Pen, use your tweezer like this and you can pull it and then you have another nib on the other end. So if you feel like your tip is already frayed and you can't get a really nice thin strokes in there, make sure to flip your Pitt Artist Pen and then you get a fresh new nib on the other side. And also, the reason why I love this is if you've noticed, I've actually pulled it just a little bit longer than usual. You can extend it a little bit longer because what happens is that the nib becomes even more flexible. So I really love that. And so this one is I think it's been exposed in the air for so long. The tip is dry. So this is the brush. Notice how different the thickness and the thin as well in this one. Just like that. Because I was able to really flex this one. I'm going to flip it because we don't have enough ink on that side. I'm going to get marker in here. But by just adjusting the length of this nib, I was able to really flex it, really add some pressure. Look at that. It's really flexible. So I can create that thick stroke. And then if I go focus on the tip of our marker, I can go really light. So you can really see, look at that. The thin and that thick, you can really see that transition. With the Fudenosuke, especially with the medium, you'll be able to do this. Also, again, remember we talked about this, is by adjusting your hand position. So you'll still be able to get it, but of course, it's not going to be as thick as the brush tip of the Pitt Artist pen. I just wanted to share that because I get a lot of question of what is your favorite marker? You know, and there's so many different brands. It's just, it depends on what you're looking for, but majority of, because not because I work with Faber-Castell, I've been using their products for a very long time, even before I started working with them. I've been using Pitt Artist for a very long time, and it's really one of my favorite pens simply because it's archival. I use it for my journal. I know that even if it gets wet, it's not going to get damaged. I can use it with watercolors, and then also over time, it's not going to fade. So one thing, especially in my journal entries, I really want archival and waterproof and something that's light, fast, that's not going to fade over time. So Pitt Artist pen is the best. Now, if you are just a beginner and really just jumping into this brush lettering, it is a journey. Okay, this is not going to be a race. I always say this, it is a journey. So I really want you to be patient, and I really want you to enjoy your process and your progress. That's the one thing that's super important, is your progress is so important. And so keeping a journal, a sketchbook, I understand it can get a little expensive, but if you have like loose pages, for example, just kind of like copy paper, pieces of paper in here, and you kind of practice, what happens is that you don't have anything to look back on. You don't have anything to actually say, oh, wow, look at my A, how I was doing my A before, and look at how I'm doing now, you know? So if you can, I know I don't always do this, but I try my hardest to do so, is that I just add a little bit, even the year, month, and the year, that's all you need. Just so you kind of look back. Even I'm looking at all my old journals and my notebooks, I'm like, wow, I've actually improved. So, you know, instead of me comparing my page 104 to someone's page 1024, you know, so I'm just comparing myself to my own progress. So instead of that doing, oh my God, look at her, I'm not even doing a good job, you know, because we all have that. We all have that days, and I still do. So every once in a while, when I'm like, when I feel like I'm not progressing or I'm not improving, I just look back at all my old journals and notebooks. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing a good job. So I want you to do the same, okay? Dot journal is good. Yeah, just a simple, you know, plain notebook. But the most important part, if you're going to choose a journal, is that choose something that has a smooth surface. Because, like what I've mentioned last week, with the brush pen, it uses a felt tip. So what happens is that the more we do our downstroke, you know, the more pressure we apply, eventually your brush pen is going to fray. And that's why I've mentioned, if you're just beginning in this journey, the black edition brush pens, the soft brush pens, are really good because they're so inexpensive that, you know, even though you can go through a lot of them so fast, by practicing your thin and thick, it's not going to hurt your bank. So this is a really good one. Okay, so let's just practice. Let's look back at the two strokes. Like what I mentioned, every time that you're going to write away from your body, this is the time when you're going to apply really light pressure, and you're going to focus on the tip of the brush. That's the key, the tip of the brush, and then light pressure. Now, if you are anything like me, I have a really heavy hand pressure. My upstroke is my struggle. It's my nemesis. It's really something that I'm like, especially if I don't pay attention, it's like it would be almost as thick as my downstroke, and it gets really frustrating. And so I trust me, I understand that. So upstroke is really, really hard, but by changing your hand position, it will really help a lot. Now, your downstroke is when you're writing towards your body. So when you're motioning towards you, when you're writing towards your body, this is when, notice how I switched my hand from kind of like this. Now it was like this, right? So I switched, and now it's like 45-degree angled. because this way we'll be able to use the tip and also the body of the brush. Now, doing these practices, upstroke and thin stroke, is easy, but when we get to the other stroke, like the underturn over here, this is when you're going to practice your transition from the light to heavy. So let's just kind of do a little bit of exercises, warm up before we get started with our letters. Let's just start our underturn here, or overturn. This is our overturn, like that. So try to do it in one stroke. I don't want you to stop in the middle and then continue and then like this, right? So the key is to do it in one stroke so that you can really practice that switch from your light to the heavy. All right, let's try that again. Light and then heavy. Okay, light and then heavy. So when I say heavy, you're not really going to press in so much, okay? So if you are already struggling with your light stroke, so you want to make sure you maintain that almost close to your light pressure. So don't press it too much. So just kind of like light, and then heavy is just adding a little bit of pressure in there, because maybe when I say heavy pressure, maybe you're um, doing it to the extreme where it's going to look like just like this. So you really want to have a nice transition from your thin and your thick lines. So go light as you can, and then heavy. Now the soft brush pen, you can really just apply just a good amount of pressure in here, and that tip will flex and give you that thickness that you need. As long as your hand is in the right position, you'll be able to do so, because I want you to pay attention to this. I'm not going to switch my angle, and I'm going to stick it to where it's upside down like this, but still I'm going to apply pressure in here. The brush itself is already going to give me that thick pressure, but I want you to really practice and get used to this one, because this is one hack that when you practice, if you really just spend time with it, just really practicing your hand angle, it's really going to speed up your progress much, much faster than mine ever did, because I was really stubborn and I was just kind of like writing my own way. If I just listened to it to switch my hand angle, my progress would have been so much faster. All right, now let's do the underturn like this one. Now we're going to switch from our heavy to our light. Heavy to, see, I struggle with this one, to light. Now, I believe that my key here is the way I grip my pen. I want you to pay attention to the way I hold my pen right this. So this I call my tripod method right there, because there's 3 in here. And my brush pen is kind of like settling in here in this cave of my hand, right? So it's just right here. And I hold it here, and it's almost like resting in my ring finger. So what my ring finger and my pinky finger does is that every time I need to kind of like ease up on that pressure, so you're almost like lifting the pen. So these 2 right here is almost like helping me lift my pen a little bit to adjust the position and then focus on the tip. So let's try that. Heavy, and then, so my hands are kind of like adjusting. So my fingers move up like this, like that one. This paper that I'm using is just a graph paper. This one is from our journal. I kind of like was playing around with my journal. This is just part of our journal from my small stationery company. It's called the Little Bits box. So this is just a journal, an A5 size, and I just really wanted to get the piece of paper so we can practice with it. All right, so those are our basic strokes. Last week, we were able to finish our letter A and our letter B. So now we're gonna do our letter C and continue from there. All right. So one thing that I really want to point out to you guys is that when it comes to brush lettering, if you've seen, the calligraphy where there's a lot of flourishes, a lot of like going round in loops and all that. I mean, it's so gorgeous, it's so pretty. My problem with that, my issue with that is sometimes it isn't legible. So if you are doing this, the reason why you're doing this is because you have a message, right? You have a word that you want to put out there. You have a quote, you have, but what if people cannot understand what you're doing because it isn't legible. So you want to make sure that you want it to look pretty, but you want people to be able to read what you're saying. So if I have the breathe, if I have so much loops going on here and there, it's going to be really hard to read. So I want to make it as, as simple as possible, but still very pretty that people can understand what my message is all about. All right. So, okay. So let's just do a little look back into the letter A. So we have that. This is how I would normally letter my letter A, like this, like the oval, downstroke, and just like that. Sometimes I would just add like a little crossbar, almost like a mountain going down the hill, and then still do my oval, like the basic stroke, and then just a downstroke with a little bit flick. So I kind of like to call it like a bend and snap. I mean, if you're familiar with, um, oh, Lisa, thank you so much. Oh my gosh. So, and then our letter B would be just a plain downstroke like this. Oops. And then two bellies. So right now, I know you're thinking in your head, I'm going down, I need to add pressure. I'm going up, I need to go light. I'm going down. The good news is that soon enough, you're going to build a muscle memory where you really don't have to think about it. Your mind is already telling your hand what to do because you have been doing this. So, like what I always say, what is the key to brush lettering? That's one of the questions that I get asked a lot. How did you get so good? How did you get so comfortable with your letters? Really, the answer to this is there's no shortcuts. That's it. Anything in life, there's no shortcut. You really have to dedicate some time. You really want to get better at it. And I always tell this to my kids. It's like, if you want to get better, you really want to spend time, with no matter what it is, photography, singing, choir, sports, art, just spend time really and then have fun with it. All right, so those are letter B. Our small a, just I would do this, just my letter A, very simple, just like that. Honestly, this is just how I do my letter A. I think I made it too flexible, my Pitt Artist pen. So look at this. I can just adjust that one, push it back in a little. There we go. So it's not so flexible. All right. Okay, look, I'm going to do your name later on, okay? All right, so letter A, and then letter B. Be just this. Just like that. You know what? I have like as our basic strokes. Okay, so that one is our ascending loop. So you're going to see this a lot, this ascending loop right there, because that plus our overturn is what? Ascending loop plus an overturn is your letter H. So it's just basic strokes. Don't skip your basic strokes because our letter A is just our oval, which is one of the basic strokes, and just a downstroke with a little flick in the end, just like that. Lisa, the bend and snap? Exactly. So that's just kind of how you want to think about when you're doing your downstroke. Bend and then just kind of like snap because you're lifting your brush pen up. So every time I would do my downstroke, then I just kind of lift it. And so I always think about bend and snap, bend and snap. All right, so let's do our letter C. Now, if you feel like practicing like slightly larger than how I'm doing, please feel free to do so, okay? So if you feel like it's too big, make it smaller to whatever size that you're comfortable in doing. So I would normally just do my letter C like this, very simple, like this. My problem with the letter C is that if we do this loop a little too big or a little too close to here, what's going to happen is you're going to end up with looking like a letter C. So you want to make sure that it doesn't get so close with your thicker stroke, and you don't want to close it too much also. See? See? Because it might end up looking like a letter E. So you want to make sure that you're just here like this, and you just have enough space in there to really differentiate that as a letter C. Now, if you want to make this one with a loop and all that, you can write it as simple as this one. And how I like to do it is from here where we end, this point where we ended, we're just going to bring it up and then go up like this one so we can have that loop. I'm going to do it here so we can see. So we can see the letter C. So just write it as simple as that. And then again, from where we ended, we're going to bring it up and just add a little fancy loop right there to make it even prettier. Just like that. Benton snap works every time, Kim. That's right. Okay, so for the small letter C, it's going to look like that. Really, that's how I would normally just brush letter it. Now with the letter D, it's kind of like our letter B right there. We want to start with our basic stroke or down stroke. And then we want to add the belly, right? So if we want to be simple, just as simple as like that, that's the most simple one. Now we want to go change it up a little bit. We still do our downstroke. And then from here, we don't want to start on the right side of our stroke. We actually want to start on the left side of the stroke. And then we're going to go as light as we can. Focus on the tip of your brush. Bring it up. Add some pressure. And then go all the way close to it. Now that's your letter D. All right. Now we want to try something else. This one's going to be just a little tricky, small one. So I'm going to do it slow, and I want you to pay attention, and then you can do it as well. So we're going down, stroke. I'm going to stop right here, focus on the tip of my brush, add a little loop there. So it's almost like a letter L. And then this one, I'm going to bring it up and then bring it down right there. Just like that. So I'm going to try and do that again. Downstroke, little loop, going up. You can bring it over here in the middle if you'd like. So I like to show you like different variations, how I would normally draw these letters so that you can practice from the very basic to adding a little bit more flourish where, you know, it's really pretty. Okay, now for the letter D, we want to practice with the small oval, just like that. And then we're going to do our ascending loop with a little flicker in the end. So that's just as simple as a letter D. Again, if you want the basic, want to do your oval, just like that. And then you want to do your ascending loop like this and like this, just like that. I love the loop D. I know, right? It's so pretty. You know what? Confession here. Every time I would write in script, it does not look like my brush lettering, just so we understand. No, it doesn't. It just really looks just like a cursive. And I don't think I write cursive anymore. I think when I do my journal, just so it's not so legible for other people, because I share a lot online. So when I'm trying to do my journal, I kind of do it in cursive where I'm the only one who can understand it. All right, so let's practice the letter D another way. So let's do our oval, right? And then where I ended, I'm just going to bring it up so we can have a much larger loop like that. So that's letter D. Now, I love the letter Ds because I can really play around with that loop and the hoops and all that. So that's what we're going to do. I'll show you another way that I like drawing the letter D. So oval. And then from here, it's kind of like a cross bar, kind of like what I did with the letter A, like that. So over here on this end, we're going to bring it up and then bring it down and over, creating that loop, and then bring it up. So it's almost like a letter L and a letter O combined, right? So I'm going to try to do that again. An oval, just like that. And then I'm just going to extend this crossbar going up and going down, just like this. Hi, Georgia. Lettering journal. It's actually not just the lettering journal. Our journals or notebooks are just A5. We come up with different notebooks every month. So some are like square grid, some are like dotted grid. So that's what we have. So any notebook will work as long as your surface is smooth. And to me, that was the most important thing when I was trying to come up with our journal, because I know I'm a paper snob. So I really want good papers in our journal. So any paper that has a smooth surface is going to work. All right, so now let's proceed with the letter E. So if we want to create just a simple letter E, it's just like this. So you have a smaller loop on top, and then you have a slightly bigger at the bottom. Okay, let's try that again. So it's kind of like a number 3, the opposite way. Let's do it like this. Go do on the other side, just like that, and then lift it up. Yes, ma'am, it's for practicing, that's for sure. Okay, and then if we want to make this really pretty, kind of like what we did with our letter C, from where we end here, we're just going to bring it up all the way up, just like this. And so you have that little fancier now. I feel like this one is so much easier. Instead of teaching you how to go like this, right? So those are one of those hacks where you don't really have to struggle by just doing that small little loop and doing that, because you can just make it really simple where you do your letter E like this and then just add the loop after. Same, it looks the same, just easier. Now, the thing about the letter E is, if I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I really draw my letter E this way. I've, through the years of practice and through the years of developing my own style, one of my style is I really like drawing everything, especially my capital letters, not all of them, but I love drawing my letters like this in a serif way, where we have those little tiny tails, just like that, or wings. I hear many people different say things. So it's kind of like a capital letter E. I just play around and curve my loops, my downstroke, just like this. I add a little flicker in the end, and then I add my serif like this. And then that's my letter E. That's how I would normally just draw my letter E. I love it. I mean, I love this letter E too, but sometimes my brain, it's telling me it looks like an ampersand. So maybe that's why I struggle with that. Now with the small letter E, just regular. If it's going to be a letter in the end, what I do is I just kind of like overextend this loop right there. So let's say C, I'm going to just letter the word C. So that's my letter S. Oh, it's the letter A. But I'm just going to show you how I overextend the last letter, just like this. So if it is the last letter and it's a letter E, then I'll just overextend this loop again. And this is how I would normally do any type of lettering. The first letter and the last letter is the one I add a little bit of flourish in there, just to kind of make it, extra special and fancier for more artistic touch. All right, so letter E. Now we're going to do the letter F. And confession again, kind of like with the letter E, I would normally just draw my letter F just like this, downstroke with a little flicker in the end, just like that. And then the serif style going down. Now you can play with the crossbar, make it curving, just like this, just like that. But if we want to make it where it's like a script, it's going to look like this. So you have a loop like that. And then bring this down and up. And then you do your crossbar in the middle. It really is pretty. I don't know why I don't use this more. I should do that. Let's try that again. Curve and up. So we're going to do a lot of that curving like this, kind of like a mountain going down your valley, right? So that's your hill, and then going down the valley, and then lift it up again. And then again, downstroke. Now you can make this, loop like this. You can just add a little bit loop if you want. But then again, it really is something that I'm so careful about because I don't want it to look like there's letter E connecting to the letter F. The more you do it, I think the more you do it, you'll really find your own style. And so sometimes I've seen, where they would do their letter F like this, closer. See, my problem with this is that it's looking like a letter J. It looks like a letter I. This is how we would draw our letter I in script. So it looks just like a letter I and the letter J to me. That's why I'm like, maybe I always stick to the capital, to the print looking, but I just add my little flourishes in the end like a serif. So it looks really pretty. All right, so the small f, I really like the small f because kind of like with the D, you can play around with the loop. So we're just going to do it basic. So this is the basic letter F, right? In script. Now, how you can play around with this is you can play around with the sizes of your loops. You can make it smaller on top and bigger at the bottom, like this. Or you can do the opposite, where you have bigger loop on top and then really short at the bottom, just like this. Now notice how my loops are like, some are like scooping up, some are like it scoops up, and some are like it scoops down, right? Pretty sure that there's a better term for that, but we're going to stick with the scooping. So you can play around with the flourish also here. You can bring it up and then bring it up like this. Now it's easy to kind of like add flourishes in your letters when we're doing it this way, when kind of like we're writing, individual letters like this. We can really play around, and add more loops and flourishes like that. But when we're writing letters, we normally don't, I normally don't usually kind of like play around so much with that because again, it comes to the legibility. I want people to be able to read what I'm saying. So, all right, so now letter F, now letter G. If we want to go do the basic of a letter G, it's just an oval like that, and then a descending loop. Just like that. And even the basics are so pretty. As long as you have that really, you can really see the transition and the difference from your thick and the thin lines. It's going to look so lovely. Now, how I like to play around with the letter G is over here. Sometimes I would keep it open, just like this, and not close it. So you notice that? That's the difference. And then bring it down. And I play around with the size of my loops. So large, smaller. And then what you can do to make it even more fancier is kind of like, just like this. It's almost like a letter O. And then you add your loop and bring it up. So you have three different style of a letter G. You have a basic one. You have this one where there's like just a slight gap. And then notice that the loop here is much smaller. Here you have an extra loop in the middle and you go up, right? And then you do your downstroke and now you have a much larger size of that loop in the letter G, just like that. So, I mean, they're all pretty. So it's just your choice, you know. And the more I want you to really experiment with your letters as well, because this is something that you're going to develop along the way. You're like, oh, I really like this one. Or, you know, that's not my favorite. So you just kind of like pick and choose which one you want and then go from there. And then later, we're going to start learning about the extension of how I like to kind of like put together my letters because that's the most important one of all. Letter G, now we're going to go to our letter H. So we're just going to do the basic. We do 2 downstroke, just like this. And notice how my downstroke is not just straight line, right? So I want you to kind of like playing around with my curves, kind of like bending it around and then like this. So it curves. Again, bend and then curves to the side. And then we're just going to add the crossbar in the middle like this. You can make it where it loops even more and extend to the side. So you can draw it in so many different ways. I've seen, just going to do my, just like this, almost kind of like in the middle, they're going to add like that little loop in there, just like this. So there's so many different ways. With me, I would probably add my little mountain going down the valley like that. And then I'll do my downstroke and another downstroke. I want you to pay attention. See, now over here, it looks like you have a letter F connected to this next letter, but really it's just the letter H. So if you're going to have this extension loop on this side already, just like this, you want to make sure that you extend your crossbar onto the other side of your letter. So do the opposite, right? So it doesn't look like you have these 2 crossbars hanging to your left side. So one is to the left and the other move it to your right side like that. All right, now with the letter H, it's kind of like with the letter B. I like to play around with this one. So let's do the basic. Let's do our ascending loop, just like this. And then we'll do our overturn with a little flick in the end. So that's just the basic one. Now let's play around where it overlaps that downstroke. So now you have this one sticking out. And then you still do your overturn here, but extend it even more, right? So now I'm going to play, instead of scooping down, I'm going to do my little mountain and valley like this. So mountain going down, and we're going to go lift our pen up again and then down. So I always play around with the scoop part. So sometimes it's scooping down, sometimes I go up like this. So you're pulling down or you go up first and then you do that. And then I would just normally do my overturn as well, just like that. Where's that letter? Practice. So this one is my favorite, that if you have that letter T and the letter H, this is what I love doing, is that I kind of like overextend the crossbar to kind of go over my letter T also. So we just kind of like did it for the letter T and I go extended to the letter H as well. And so that 2 letters, that's my favorite. So if you have the word the or the breathe, you know, there, they, and all that. So that's a nice way to kind of like connect it together. So pretty too. Right, so that's our letter H. Now with our letter I, like what I showed over here, this is really a letter I right there, that one. Kind of like under going up, just like that. And then add your curving down stroke and then lift it up. So that's really a letter I. So how I've seen a lot of people are just kind of like play around with this loop right there, where they add more like that. But then again, a little confession, how I like to do it is just my fancy curving down stroke. And then I just add my crossbar like this. And this is how I would normally just letter my letter I. I don't know why, especially because the letter I and the letter J just look so alike. Now with a small letter I, so you do your upstroke like this, and then downstroke, and then your extra tail. Let's do that again. Upstroke, and then downstroke, and just like that. Now you can do your little crossbar like this, a mini crossbar and a downstroke, and then just like that. So simple. Again, mini, that like this. Thank you, Carrie. Okay, letter I, H-I-J. I have to do my J. You might have to hear me sing the ABC here. Okay, the letter J is almost like a letter, the letter I. Now that's what's going to be the difference is their descending loop. Okay, so I'm going to try and do that. This is I'm going to try to do them close together. So this is our letter I. That's a letter I. Now if I'm going to letter the letter J, this is what's going to happen. We're going to extend this one. So your loop goes, you're going to have your descending here. So I, J, so A. So that's why I probably don't like doing them because they're so similar. I even confuse myself. That's why. So it's just the letter J. So you have that loop again, and then you play around with this one, that scooping loop. Honestly, it looks like a letter L to me. It looks like a letter T. It looks like a beginning of a letter F. So the more you do it, the more you do this, you're going to figure out, oh my gosh, they all just look the same. And so you're like, oh, I'm just doing things over and over. And so it's just really like the basic strokes over and over again. And the more you practice with it, the more you're going to learn how to curve your lines, add a little bit more extra flicker in the end, so just play and practice, okay? And so the confession would be how I would normally just do my letter J would be like this, just like this. And then I add my crossbar on top, just like that. Or you can kind of like play around where it's like bigger like this. See, I don't like adding too much loops like that. Probably just like this. Because my husband's name is Jason, so this is how I would normally just letter his name. Looks like a letter T too. Now let's just do that. Now that's a letter J. Letter J. Why does it look like a letter T? Looks like a letter T, looks like a letter L. So the reason why I like showing you many different variations of the letters is that so you can see that, it's not just drawn or written in one way. So just kind of like this. So you can either do this as your letter J, you can do this as your letter J, or this one is your letter J. Just really, it's your choice. Now it's your choice. Now for the small letter J, probably just do kind of like with the letter I, that little mini crossbar, and just play around with this loop size right here. So you kind of like make it where it's much smaller, like that, and the end like this. So you have a bigger one, a smaller one, and don't forget your dot because that's the only way we're going to know that that's the letter J. So don't forget to dot your letter J. Okay, J, K. Okay, now letter K. Now my letter K is we're just going to do our little curving down stroke with a little flicker then, bend and snap. And then from here, from the right, we're going to bring it down to the left, to the middle of this stroke. So add a little bit of pressure going down, just right in that middle. And then now from the left, we're going to bring this down. And then we'll lift it in the end. So you have that little flicker in the end like that. Let's try that again. A little curving down stroke. Lift up your pen. It's like this. From the top right, we're going to bring it down in the middle, down stroke pressure right in the middle. Now you can add some loop over here. Just like this. So this one is like clean, no loop. This one would have a mini loop in the middle, just like that. So I don't know if it's me being an artist or being a Libra. I don't know. I cannot decide. So sometimes I like doing my letter D, my letter B with a, with a little loop in the middle, my little R, but I do things different every single time. So, all right, so let's try that again. A little curving down stroke. Now, how you can play around with this is maybe make the top one much smaller, like this, and this one really big. Go like that. I don't think it was that even smaller. Let's try that again. Like a smaller one. There we go. And then this one bigger. Looks like a letter R too, right? Yeah, you are right. Now for the letter K, you can do just a simple ascending loop, kind of like with the letter H, letter B, and then add your letter K, your loop there, and then scoop down and go up. So that's your basic one. But then again, we can overextend this and overlap in the middle. And then from the bottom, we go up to add our small mini loop on top and then go down like this. So you can play around with the height where your descending and your ascending stops. Now, I personally love writing in a bounce lettering style. And so my height of my letters, I play around with them so much. Just like that. So it's either we scoop down or like what I said, we go up the hill, down the valley, and go like this. And we go do that loop and just like again. That is so pretty. Everything is so pretty from the basic to the very end where, we play around with the size of the loops and all that. They're all so pretty. Now, K, L. Next one might be my favorite letter yet. I'm a little biased. So letter L. I'm going to do very simple first so you guys can see. It's kind of like an ascending loop, right? We go do that loop on top, go down in a downstroke, mini loop to the left, bring down and go up. So letter L is so pretty. It's like a ribbon. Okay, let's try that again. Coming in from the left, we go over here to the right. We go up stroke. We go do a loop. We go down. We go do a mini loop, kind of like what we did on the top, but just the opposite. And then we bring it up like that. Now, how I like to play with my letter L, because it's my name, I really play around with the letter L, is that just the sizes of the loops down here and the top. So I mix it around. So you can either make your top loop smaller and then make your bottom loop much larger. So it's the opposite of what we did earlier. Now, again, this is just me. This is really how I like to do things, either scooping like this or on top. So you can go from here, bring it up, smaller one like there, just like that. So everything's lovely. All of that, everything's so pretty. Now you can even do it without the loop. I've tried it many times before, just kind of like this, like that. So you can try that too. You can probably bring this up as well. Remember that loop, that hack I showed you? Just like that. And while we're at it, why don't we write Luke's name? So we're going to do L, smaller loop on top, just like this. We're going to do our letter U, like that. And we're going to copy the way I did my loop over here, where it's kind of like coming from the bottom. So we have uniformity over here, like that. Letter K, like this. Just like that. So we have, look, it's so pretty. All right. Now the letter L, very simple, the small letter L, that's almost just like your our ascending loop, and then overlap, just like this, all right? Or the opposite, just like that. That's for how really I like to play around with it. Now with the letter M, we can go just as basic as like this, just like that, like this. You know, you can even go without that little loop on in there, and just as long as you can see like your thin and thick line, it looks so pretty. Now, what do you want to make sure with your letter M is that you don't want to have where you have so much gap in between, because I'm going to show you like here. So this is our N, because it looks like a letter V, right? So you want to make sure that you close these two strokes or downstroke. So you want to make sure that you go as close as possible like that. And then same with this one. Because when you have too big of a gap, it's going to look like you have a letter V in between that. And you don't want that. Now, how I like to play around with my letter M is probably just the size of the hump. So sometimes I have them where they have the same height, the letter M's like this, or I would normally have it where the first little hump, the first hump would be much larger, like this, and I'd go much smaller, the next one, just like that. And the small letter M is going to look like that too. Now, sometimes I play around with the letter M where I do this style. We're going to go, instead of a downstroke, we're going to do an upstroke first. Go up, and then it lifts like that to that side. And we're going to bring this down like this. Come up like this. Now, it isn't my favorite just because it's like, maybe it depends on the word. It looks like a letter N, looks like a letter V. It's really not my favorite to do, but it just probably depends on the word. Because this is our letter V right here, like that. Okay, so since because we have 6 more minutes and we can't finish the whole alphabet, but the more you write it, the more you're going to see that it really is the same. Now, this is the most important thing, even if you practice the whole worksheets that we have, your letter alphabet from A to Z. Now, the challenge is when you're actually putting these words together. And this is the most important thing that I can leave with you, is because this is where I struggled so much in the very beginning, because I've, attended workshops, I have all the worksheets and the books. And every time I would write my letters, they look all so lovely and pretty. But then when I start putting them together into a word, that's where my struggle, that's where my struggle was. And so I want you to pay attention to this one, because this is really what's going to make things better. First of all, I want you to lift your pen. Notice how I'm going to write this, okay? Just pay attention to this one. I'll letter the word love. Okay, so that's one. I'm going to letter it again. The second way is the way I want you to do it. I don't want you to do the word love in one stroke. And this is the common mistake that I am seeing in my students, is that they're trying to write, they're trying to do their brush lettering kind of like a cursive. This is not a cursive. This is not writing one letter until the end. This is, we're doing it one stroke at a time. You know, when we write cursive, like how we would normally just letter or word love, you don't lift it. That's why cursive was invented, so that it can get faster. But when you're brush lettering, I want you to do everything one stroke at a time. So the word love, we did it again, L. And then don't forget, this is the next important one. Aside from lifting your pen and doing things one stroke at a time, it's that extension. It's the extension stroke that is what's going to connect your next letter from the first, right? So from my letter L, I'm going to overextend this one so that I can space out my letters very well. And I'm going to do my letter O. That's one stroke. Now I'm going to extend it from adding that loop right here, just like that. And I'll do my letter V, right? Upstroke, just like this. And then extend this one so I can prepare and set up for my next letter, which is our letter E. And then this one I don't have anymore, so I'm just going to overextend it. And so that's the word. So those are two things that you can really practice, and it's really going to help you a lot. Is not trying to write, is not try to do your brush letter how you would normally do your cursive. A cursive writing and brush lettering are two different things. So I want you to pause, let your letters breathe in between. Letter L, overextend it, set up for your next letter, let it breathe. Now do your stroke, your oval stroke, let it breathe again, and then do your that. So don't be in a hurry, enjoy it, because it is the process. It's that being in the now that is so important. And when you do all those practices, I promise you, it's going to get easier and easier the more you do it. So lift your pens and make sure to kind of like extend your stroke. The extension stroke is what sets up for your next letter. And be mindful of your spacing so that your letters can breathe and they're not squished in the middle where it looks much, you know, it doesn't look so much, it doesn't look so good. So just let the letters breathe and let it flow and enjoy the process. So, oh my gosh, thank you guys so much. I really hope you enjoyed it. I know that it's kind of like, you know, when we're doing all these classes, especially brush lettering, as much as I love teaching it, there's just so much involved. And so even we did it in two parts, it was just not enough. But I hope that all of that, everything that I've included in there is everything that's you're going to need to really step up your game when it comes to brush lettering. And as always, I'm always here for you. Make sure to follow me online at Momule. If you have any questions whatsoever, I'm here to help. So thank you all so much for spending some time with us. I really had a wonderful time. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your messages and all that. So I really appreciate it. On behalf of Faber-Castell USA, and Michael Stores, we appreciate you. As always, stay creative and stay happy. Until next time, guys, see you next week.